Buddy, and welcome in to Get Sober, Stay Sober. It's Saturday morning. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all hangover free. Hope you're all alcohol free. If not, if you're struggling, I'm glad that you're here. This is a group where we can come and talk. It's a group of like-minded people where we can just, talk about what we're going through day by day. It's tough enough to get alcohol free, but it's sometimes it's even harder to stay alcohol free, and that's what the goal is here for everybody here on this channel. So if you're new, welcome. My name's Josh. If you're returning, thank you guys so much for being here, subscribing, and following the channel, supporting the channel. Appreciate every single one of you. So here we are. It's a Saturday. I love checking in here with you guys, having these chats. We've had a tough week with snow here in Michigan. It's been a lot of work, a lot of I've even been at work driving in it, and it's kind of been horrendous, to be honest with you. And then there's always these types of people that want to complain, want to try to drag you down, and if we let it, we can, and a lot of times we can drink at that. So that's what this is about, talking about our day, what we're doing today. Welcome in, Joe's. 2 weeks. Congratulations. That's awesome. And it's the weekend, so if we're struggling, if we're having cravings to drink alcohol, this is what we're doing today. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into some of the things that we've gone through this week and some of the things that we can do to get through the cravings, the urges to drink. A lot of times we romanticize alcohol. We make it into this thing that's going to make us feel better, this thing that's going to help us cope with things, this magic elixir that's going to make everything better. And in some ways it does help a little bit for a little bit of time. I think for me, looking back on my drinking, the drinking helped me probably for, I'd say, a couple hours. I would say it helped me the first 4 or 5 beers in particular. And if I was really looking at drinking, I'd mix in some hard liquor. I did a poll the other day, and I was kind of surprised of the results. Over 50% of the subscribers here are hard liquor drinkers, and I mean, I guess I'm not totally surprised, but I was a little bit surprised that the number was over 50%, like a majority. I was a beer drinker, but I was also whiskey. I liked whiskey, and I liked some hard liquor. And I would typically start out a binge drink session with hard liquor. I would mix, like, if I was to pick my favorite out of all the years that I drank, I would probably say that Maker's Mark whiskey with a Guinness Stout was my favorite. Just there's something about it. I didn't drink the Maker's Mark as often as I probably would have if I was like a single guy, to be honest. It was really the fact of the matter was I was older, I had a family, I had responsibilities, and I was able to kind of control that to a certain degree. I mean, I still let like my anger and irritability like lead, but at the same time, I didn't wake up with these hangovers that I couldn't go to work and I couldn't function. So that was something that I kind of took as a badge of honor, to be able to live that way. And so I had to, when I quit, I had to be honest about that and be honest with myself about the fact that we lie to ourselves when we're drinking all the time. We tell ourselves that we're controlling things, we're doing okay, we're skating by, and we get used to the bare minimum. We get used to just accepting the bare minimum of ourselves, and we do that because we love alcohol. And so if you're here and you're struggling with your drinking, you come to the right place. So thank you guys for being in here. Slayer, welcome in. It's good to see you. And I haven't had a chance to watch your latest couple videos, but I hope that you're sober. Good morning, that runner. And let's see who else we got in here. John, yeah, it can. I mean, it happens, but the fact that you're like looking into it, that's where it starts. If we start to question alcohol in any form, fashion, we are setting. You know, we're setting ourselves up for success. That's where it starts. It starts with kind of looking at alcohol and asking ourselves: is alcohol helping? Is it making things worse? Am I able to control my drinking? Am I able to really get gain the things in my life that I want and continue to drink alcohol? Some of us drink more than others. You know, I mean, somebody that drinks like 2 beers can still have like issues with alcohol. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if it's like 2 and you have a problem with it, or 10 or 20. You know, if you are questioning alcohol, it's a good thing. I don't think our society really does a good job of, um, you know, shining a light on that. And that's kind of why I started this channel, because I wanted to shine a light on that. I was starting to feel comfortable enough to talk about it. I finally kind of found like that I had a passion. I never really felt like I had a calling in my life. I felt like drinking was my calling. So I gave everything to it. I gave everything to alcohol, and alcohol never really gave anything back. Like I said, it was short term. I mean, yeah, it does help you feel good for a short time. It does help you kind of hide from your, you know, troubles, hide from your feelings, hide from whatever emotional state that you're struggling with. But then it leaves us feeling hungover, and then it leaves us, you know, needing more and reaching for more. So, um, so Slayer, 22 days, awesome. Keep it up. I'm glad to see you checking in here. Um, and there's always some trolls. And I did put a setting on here actually last week, but it doesn't. I don't think it gets everything, but that's okay. The fact of the matter is, you're here and you're doing something about your drinking. That's what this is all about. So um, I honestly get more stuff, more of you guys chiming in here than I get on some of the other platforms. So this is the beginning of it. The YouTube channel is the beginning. I'm going to be getting into some coaching. I'm going to be getting into and I'm going to start probably with Zoom calls and do like 40 to 50-minute sessions. And because, you know, even though I'm not licensed in this, I do plan on coaching at some point. And this was the beginning. When I started thinking about it, and I started to feel like I was comfortable enough with my sobriety on a firm foundation, because that's what it took. It took years to get to that point. It didn't just happen in the first year, the second year, but around the third year was when I really was solidified in being alcohol free. And I reached out to my therapist that I had at the beginning of my recovery, and I told him my plan, and I told him where I was with my recovery, and that I would like to be a coach possibly. And he told me that he thought it was a good idea. He gave me a couple links to get certified. I looked into that, and I decided, you know what, I can't make that fit into my schedule right now. Uh, it, whatever the, you know, whatever it was that I had to go through to do that was not set up for right now. So I always kind of wanted a YouTube channel to begin with, not necessarily sobriety, but I mean, that's just the way that it went. And you know, as you guys know that follow me, my faith is huge. So I mean, I prayed on it. I spent some time in prayer, and then just decided, you know what, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is why I am where I am in my life. And so that's kind of how that unfolded. And to go from there, we'll see where it goes. But you know, I made this video last night, and it's going to be posted. It's already posted. It's for subscribers only right now, but it'll be available for everybody tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Um, and it's just getting into the fact that, like, do we want to be like, a lot of us strive to be the best at everything. Like, I don't know about you guys, but growing up, I was like super competitive. I had to win. I had to win at everything. I was a basketball player growing up. I was on all the teams and everything like that, and I was not. I mean, I wouldn't say I was the best, especially going into high school. But I mean, I was good, and I could have probably been great had I had the right like mentors, the right structure, the right um, just the right structure. I would say was something that I always kind of looked at. Um, but winning, and I wanted to win, and I took it seriously. And if I lost, I mean, I would just lose my mind. Uh, and I mean, you could ask my mom. She would tell it. She actually left me on the golf course one day because she outdrove me, and I was having a hard time even getting off at the first tee. So I think I might have thrown my club, and she was like, "You know what? I'm out of here." And it was the golf course that I worked at. I was a caddy there, and it was like a freebie day. It was like it's free golf once a week where I was at. And she packed up her stuff and she drove off, left me there, and she came back like 5 or 10 minutes later. And I mean, this is before cell phones and stuff, so I wasn't able to just like text her like, get back here, or how could you leave me like that or whatever. But she came back, and she's just like, you can't act like that, you know what I mean? I can't. So in that regard, though, that was something that really was, and there was more. That was just one occasion, but that was one that's like highlighted from my youth. I was like 14 years old, and that was kind of like the last real time that I had like a really bad lash out. But I mean, I would lash out at my friends. I would lash out at people like that were my friends that were like beating me on the basketball court or on the golf course. Or, and of course, this is mostly sports related. I didn't really compete at school. I never really felt like I had much of a chance at school anyway. School wasn't for me. But anyhow, growing up, like number one, that's what I wanted to be. So I made this video the other day or yesterday, posted it last night, and it's about like being the best you, and it's being the best you in sobriety. Um, and maybe we like reach to be the best. Maybe we reach to be number one at everything, and we struggle with that because there's so much pressure that comes along with trying to get to number one. Then if you get to number one, you got to stay there, and then you feel like you got to stay relevant. You got to keep coming up with stuff. You got to keep doing this and keep doing that, and the work never ends. The striving for it never ends. It's almost like money, you know, like there's never enough. And can you really be happy if you're striving that way? So when I did a little bit of research on it, and I thought, and one of the first things that came up was maybe just instead of looking at it like being number one, maybe like strive to be better like 1% each day. Like strive to be a better you 1% each day. And maybe that's just adding on, like for sobriety, it's adding on a tool every day. It's adding on like something that brings you joy every day, you that you maybe you did in the past but you've neglected for years because of the drinking. Maybe it's something new that you've wanted to try for a while, and then now you have the time to do it. So you do that, and maybe you're not good at it. You know, I mean, if it's new or if it's something you haven't done in a while, maybe you're not good at it. But you start that routine, you do it each day, you incorporate it into your life, and then eventually it just becomes another thing that you can lean on instead of drinking alcohol. And that's huge in this. Joe says Jack Daniels and everything. Um, yep, Slayer, the trolls, they never stop. for sure. Um, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, like I said, whiskey and beer. I mean, I was that was my go-to. Um, Crone, that was my go-to. But like I said, I tried to control my drinking the best I could, especially when I knew I had to work the next day. That was kind of what kept me in check most of the time. But if I wasn't working, I would definitely overdo it with the liquor and definitely. I mean, I drank a ton of beer. I was able to just drink a ton of beer, and that was what I typically would drink on a regular sitting. But like, um, but when for whatever reason, when I was not working, and the pandemic was when I ultimately was able to quit. It took 6 weeks of binge drinking to get to that point. Basically, daily drinking and basically starting earlier and earlier every day. And then I would get to like day 5, day 6, day 7, and then I would just I needed more. So I didn't keep the whiskey at my house. I would just keep beer. But my wife had Tito's and in the cabinet, and I would get to the end of that week and I would need more. And of course, I was drinking all day, so I was in no condition to drive. So I would reach into the cabinet and have a shot or two of Tito's, and that having that at the end of a beer drinking day would set me up for like a massive hangover the next day. And I might not have been throwing up, but I was basically bedridden. I mean, I didn't want to do anything, no motivation, maybe a high heart rate, maybe just some nausea, headache, and all that goes along with all that. Um, so I would take a day off, but then I would go back to it. I wasn't planning on like quitting or anything like that. I would just take a day off, and that was pretty typical all my through my drinking times. The only time I took time off away from drinking was when I overdid it, and I would sometimes it would be only a day, sometimes it would be a few days, sometimes it would be a week if it was a really bad one. But I got to the end of those binge drink sessions, those like week long binges in the pandemic, and then I would overdo it with the liquor, and like the first week it might have been just like 2 shots of Tito's. The next week it was probably three, and then it was four, and then and it was just I was overdoing it, and I would swear that off. Now, like I said, I was not working, so the fact that I wasn't working and I was idle and I had more time to think about, um, just how bad things were, ruminate on the past, ruminate on all the struggles that I was dealing with, the responsibilities, all those things. They just helped me look forward to a binge drink session. But I try to keep the hard liquor out of it, for the most part. Welcome in number 4. My problem is one beer turns into drunk for 4 days. Yeah, the one drink is something that's huge. I was never into AA, and for anybody that is in AA and it's working, keep doing it. Like I have nothing against it. I just was not into that format of going to the meeting, going through the steps, the prayer, and just the whole thing for like the first 30 minutes. I don't know. I wasn't into it. It didn't work for me. Maybe I never found the right one. I'm not in like a city or anything like that. I'm kind of in the suburbs, so it was hard for me to really find a group that really worked. And ultimately, This Naked Mind was the one that I read the book. I got to the end and I joined that group, and I was planning on controlling my drinking by just like moderating and becoming like a one or two drink person and being done. I got on that group. I realized after reading a bunch of posts that these people were not drinking at all. They had a lot of time away from alcohol, and that they were feeling good and feeling better. And I thought, you know what? I'm already on like day 4 or 5. I might as well try that. I got to like day 8, which was my longest that I had really ever been not drinking. I had a therapy visit. the therapist was so helpful for me because he resonated with me. He was an addict himself at some points. He was not using anymore, thankfully, but I mean, he was like certified in, and he went to school for drug and rehabilitation. And so he got it. He got it. And he told me some techniques that worked. I got home. I didn't drink. I had the beer in my fridge for 4 months. Every now and then I would think about it, but then I would work through my problems and I would talk it out. And ultimately, like 4 months later, I dumped all that beer out, and I didn't think anything of it. It just felt good to release it, to be done with it. But the one drink, and getting back to the point that I was trying to make, number four, which is the AA philosophy. So Bill W., who formed AA, I think it was he was a co-founder, and I can't remember, but I don't think the other member was really revealed in the documentary that I watched. But he talked about the one drink was the real issue for people that had problems with alcohol. They would go like People would go like 3, 4, 5 months without drinking. They'd have one drink and then they'd be back into that drinking cycle again, and they wondered why. And after talking about it, researching it, and doing all that, Bill W. realized and discovered that it's the one drink that puts us back into that pattern of drinking. And so for whatever reason, and there are reasons, there's scientific reasons. And it was the second book that I read after I quit drinking, after This Naked Mind, which was Alcohol Explained by William Porter, that really breaks down the scientific reasons why we get addicted. Some people get addicted and some don't, and just how addictive alcohol is. And it's not necessarily all our fault, but I mean, yeah, we have to take some responsibility. We ultimately have to take all the responsibility. But alcohol is addictive, and if we have that kind of chemical like imbalance in our brains, and we start to use alcohol, it changes our brain chemistry. Uh, we form these different neural pathways that we would not necessarily have if we were not drinking, and it changes our brain pattern and our chemistry. So we crave one after another. And that was just another thing on top of a million other things on the reasons why I knew that I didn't want to go back to drinking. I had already had weeks and months when I started learning these things, alcohol free. And at that point, it's like, why would I want to go back to it? Like, I'm not thinking about alcohol when I wake up. I'm not craving it in the afternoons or evenings anymore. And then I'm having good night's sleeps, and I'm getting up in the morning and I'm not hungover, and I'm feeling good, and I'm able to accomplish more, and I'm able to do this and do that. It felt like I added a superpower on. Like, it just felt like I had time. Like, time became like irrelevant anymore. Like, it wasn't like I was running out of time. I had to go drink. You know what I mean? Or spending all my time thinking about alcohol. It wasn't there anymore. So if you can get over that urge of having one drink, that you're gonna get far. And then as you see like the days accumulate into weeks and then into months, then it's like, you know what? I don't want that one drink. I don't want it anymore. So same as Joseph, same. Once I start, I don't stop. 12 days in a row was my max. So Max Bender, so 12 days straight. Yeah, that. I mean, I think I've probably had, yeah, around 10 was probably the most, but it's that's scary. I mean, it's scary. I remember going to a concert with a couple friends of my wife and I, and this was like 2016. This was a little bit before I started really wanting to quit drinking. Um, and it was actually one of the things that started the ball rolling. That wasn't the reason I started thinking about becoming alcohol free, but it played a factor. This guy that we went to this concert with was just getting back from Vegas, and he was nice guy. They knew this guy for decades. I think they were good friends. But he was drinking. We're all drinking, and he told me, he said, "I'm just back from Vegas. I just got back. I think it was like yesterday or today, and this is my like 10th day in a row drinking like this, like one after another." And I was thinking, because I never really at that point drank that many days in a row. Um, but I've I've definitely had days where I've or weeks where I've had like 4 or 5 days in a row. But not drinking all day and night. It's typically like night drinking, like after work and stuff like that. So it wasn't like a bender like his. Like his was like 10 beers a day, I think he said, 10 plus beers a day. So, but at any rate, we're partying. This guy doesn't come back to the group. We can't find him. And then we like our friends drove us home because one of them wasn't drinking. We had a designated driver, and he went back to look for him. And he ended up finding him at like 3 in the morning, passed out under a tree. And it was like, you know, um, I think his parents were like bar owners, and I think they were always that way. So like he grew up in that culture. I don't really know him that well, but from what I gathered from our friends, they just said that's just him. But he got in trouble with his wife. He was married, and I think they had kids even, um, and so it was like I don't want to end up that drinker that passes out under a tree. I mean, I don't think that I would ever have gotten to that point. I mean, but I think it's possible that any of us that are in addiction like that can get there. And it was like a year later, I lost my job. I had a friend from high school pass away, and I found out that he drank himself to death. And that was the beginning, because I was off of work. I was drinking a ton, and we were like 38 years old at that time. And to have a friend like that I knew, that I grew up with, and was friends with all through high school and stuff, have that happen to. I'm like, if that can happen to him, that can happen to anybody. If that guy passing out under the tree can happen to him, it can happen to any of us that are drinking like that. We think of prototypical like like addicts or alcoholics as these like people that are on the street corner with homeless, drinking the can of beer out of the paper bag. And but that's not it. I mean, that's not. I mean, yeah, that's a rock bottom, but like that's not it. Like we can have these problems, we can hit these rock bottoms, and it doesn't have to be that. It can be insidious like that. Like it can be downright insidious. And alcohol, from what I've learned over the first what I learned over the first year especially, but all the years since then, is just that it creeps in and it doesn't creep back out. We have to actually put an end to it. So that's what I did. That's what I got for you on that. Let's get back to some more of these comments. Crone says, I can't drink tequila or I'll do Coke. I'm glad that you said that. Like one thing can lead to another. A lot of people drink and smoke together. If they don't drink, they don't smoke. If you drink tequila, you're gonna do Coke. So, some people, if they drink too much, they're gonna sleep around, or for me, like I might have like used weed. I had to be around people that had it. I never bought it, but like if I, especially in the last like three, like four, I'd say like 4 or 5 years that I drank, if I was around somebody who would, and I didn't think anything of that because in my youth I'd smoked, but um, but my wife didn't like it. His wife didn't like it. The one that I would typically smoke it with, and we'd go hide, and then I come back, and my wife knew that I was stoned. So it was like that's not a good feeling. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to have to explain myself or make these stupid comments or make these mistakes that I was making while I was doing that. So these things go hand in hand, and sometimes we have to quit the drinking to quit doing these other things. You know, like I said, it changes our neural pathways. It makes us do things and say things that we normally would not say. Um, and yeah, sometimes we do have to stop one thing to stop another, or multiple things. Mystic Pizza says, what helped you the most to stay sober? The most beneficial thing that helped me at the beginning was my community. To get on there, post what I was feeling, what I was going through, allow myself to be vulnerable, and then it might not seem like it, but talking to my wife wasn't always easy because I had to admit things to myself and to her that I was struggling with. And that can't be, sometimes that can't be easy. So allowing myself to be vulnerable and be honest. And sometimes it was easier to be honest on that forum than it was to just be honest with my wife or my best friend or my mom or somebody, you know, like it wasn't easy to it was easier to talk to strangers. So, I mean, I think that just the anonymity of that does help, and that's why having like this channel, having my Facebook group, those groups, they help. That's kind of why I formed those other groups. I wasn't really able to have those things before I was able to like heal all the things that I had broken within me. But once I was able to do that, then I was able to. But yeah, community was the most helpful thing. Therapy was probably the next most helpful thing, but that was only weekly. So I had to sit on a lot of the things I was going through and experience them, and I couldn't talk about it with him until my next session. So in the meantime, having that community and having my wife that I can talk to was massively beneficial for me. But being vulnerable, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, um, is huge. Bishop says 32 years sober in Texas. Congratulations on 32 years. That's awesome. Uh, Number 4 says some people can just have beers. I'm a scumbag when I drink. I like it, but I stay away. So that's good that you stay away and you know that about yourself. That's key. Admitting that, being able to admit that there's nothing to be ashamed of or feel guilty about. Um, and some people can. I mean, my wife, my best friend, they can have a drink, have a beer or a glass of wine, and that's it, and they're done. That's not me, and that took a while to accept that. Like that's just the way that it is. I mean, I did bat around the idea of moderating for like the first 30 days or 60 days, um, to see if I could have one or two and not think about it anymore. But the more that I started to think about, you know what, it's probably not likely because I was never. Joe's said that once you have one, you have many, and that's, I mean, that's how I was, but I never planned on moderating. Like, I never really. If I was gonna drink, I was gonna drink. I was all in. Like, I wasn't doing anything else. So I never really tried. In the times that I did try, it was a failure. Like my idea of moderating might be to have like 4 light beers. I might be able to do that for one day, but the next day I'm gonna have 15. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's not. I couldn't moderate. That's just not. It wasn't in the cards for me. So let's see. Somebody. There's quite a few I got to catch up on here. So let's go back. Man, there's more comments here than I've had in a long time. All right, let's see. Uh, Volumate. That's those are some funny complaints. Um, day 6, no weed for Dave. Congratulations, Dave. 6 days is awesome. And only because of God. And I'm glad to hear you give God the glory, because that's, I mean, I give God all the glory for my recovery, my sobriety, everything. Um, let's see. Den, there's no begging for money here. This is just something I do because I love doing it. Um, let's see. And I do have a job. Let's see. The close camera, this just helps for me go through this because I use my phone. Let's see here. Good morning, Jason. Good to see you back. How you been? I can see the filter on here is not working perfectly. Silk says, I've grown bored of drinking. The dopamine roller coaster has gotten old. Good luck with your vices. Yeah, that same here. A lot of people have different channels for different reasons. I follow a few different sobriety channels. We all have different like journeys. This is not linear. It's a jagged thing. It's up and down. The drinking was up and down. It's a roller coaster. And then the reasons why we quit drinking are different for everybody. This is something that is personal. You have to take accountability for the drinking, but then accountability for everything else in life. But for me, and I think for most of us, the quitting the drinking was the driving force to be able to change everything else in our lives. That was the number one thing. That was the catalyst. I kind of knew that it would be the case because I always kind of envisioned a life where I didn't drink. Um, Getting there was a whole different ball game. But like I said, it's not linear. It's different for everybody. I didn't have a health scare that made me like jump out and need to quit. I didn't go to like jail or have some kind of legal issues that prompted me to have to quit, or some kind of like legal issue or anything like that, or divorce or anything, like all these things that make you really have to quit or need to quit. Mine was it ran its course. Yes, some I had like serious anger, and like I would lash out, and those were the things that scared me, being having a family and stuff like that. Like if I was like I said, in my 20s and my early 30s, and I was a single guy, it was a totally different thing. If I lashed out, it didn't affect anybody else, and I did lash out. And in the first like 5 or 6 years, and after meeting my wife, getting married and stuff like that, I didn't have those like, she would probably tell you differently, but I didn't like have those same kinds of angers that I did earlier on in my life, because I felt like a lot more things were going right now. Like I went back to school, I got my degree, I got a good job, I got married, we've had kids, all these things were going right, but those were all just kind of a mask. And it was like, it was not till later on in my marriage and in my adult life that I started to recognize that, look, I'm getting angrier and angrier every day. And it's because, well, there's a multiple of reasons, but one of the reasons was because I didn't want the responsibilities, and drinking helped me feel like I was escaping those, and um, and able to like reconnect with my youth. And ultimately, when I quit drinking and looked back on that, that was a lie. Those things are not. Alcohol is not helping with that, not at all. Um, it's making everything worse, and then it's leading to other things. So that's, that's something that's huge. And just noticing if you're bored, uh, that was one of the things that prompted me at the pandemic. I was bored. I was sitting there 10 beers in, and I was bored out of my mind. There was no sports on TV. There was no like new movies or shows. Um, and those were the things that I did while I was drinking a lot of times. So I was just sitting there, and I was like, is this all there is? This can't be all there is, man. This is boring. And I didn't even, but I think it was a blessing because I could sit there and I could think about, do I even like the way that I'm feeling right now 10 beers in? And the answer was no. I couldn't wait to get that feeling out. And then, but then the next day, of course, I drink again, and it's fun for a little while. That initial buzz and then the first few hours is great, but then you start blacking out, you have the hangovers, and then you're back into that cycle again. So yeah, I still think about how I got sick of drinking and how I didn't even like the buzz anymore. Um, Jason says beer and moonshine mates for some bad nights. I imagine the moonshine for sure. Um, let's see. Potheads do not have the problems that alcoholics have. Uh, I agree with to a certain degree with that, but being that I use that too, I can say that weed is addictive. Weed has its other issues, so I don't advocate for that. But I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. Um, Jason says the man takes a drink, the drink takes the drink, the drink takes the man. 100%. Let's see what else we got here. Tyler, both my grandmother and grandfather died of that liver cirrhosis when I was 1. Well, Tyler, thank you for sharing that, and my condolences to you. That's difficult. It's difficult to watch people go through that, and I mean, I know that you were young, and I mean, but I mean, I've had some people, like I said, um, that I watched, and it shined a light on my drinking. It helped me kind of look at it like I could keep doing this, but I could also, like, be continuing on that chain. And um I wanted to break that chain and not have my kids have to deal with, or my spouse have to deal with that. So taking responsibility is huge. Don't drink. Russell Crowe. Maybe Russell Crowe with the rosy cheeks. Let's see, what do we got here? History says it's pointless drinking. Yeah, I agree with that. It is pointless. And it's glorified, and I don't know why, you know? Let's see what else we got here. Alex. Oh man, that's funny. The power of knowledge. Jason says, for me, it's the power of knowledge that's helping me stay sober. It's really scary learning what alcohol does to your body. Yeah, 100%. That's a good point. That is one of those things that, like, when I quit drinking, and you probably know this, and some other people that follow me on the channel, the bags were accumulating of cans in my garage because of the pandemic, and I couldn't take the cans back. And every bag that would stack up in there, I was thinking, that's going into my body. That can't be good. And yeah, our livers and our organs can filter out that stuff, and our bodies are amazing and can do amazing things. But at a certain point, that stops working. And then we're left with what? We're left holding the bag. We're the ones that have to deal with that. Not alcohol, and not anybody else. So that does help. Praise Jesus. Amen. The comments, David says, geez, the comments are terrible. I know. Well, I do have a filter on here, but I think it's only for words mostly. So bad words are filtered out. So I'm glad for that. But it doesn't have just regular filters for comments. But every one of us suffer. We are not getting out of this life unscathed. Hang in there and keep growing. Ignore the drug addicts. Well, thank you for saying that, David, because that is a key. I wouldn't be on this channel if I couldn't take these comments, to be honest with you. And I laugh at the comments. I don't, or at the same I don't, I try not to like make a mockery of it, but at the same time, like the people that are making these comments are going through something that they cannot express themselves. This is a way for them to get that out, to feel better. And I'm not saying that it's okay, but if they're on here trolling like that, that's their issue, not my issue. So that's, I, for whatever reason, those comments, it doesn't bother me. I wouldn't be on here if it did. Um, it's certainly, at this stage of the game, it used to be where like the strangers comments hurt me more than like my family's comments, but it's like vice versa now. Like the strangers that make those comments, I don't know them and I won't ever know them. And so like I'll take to heart some comments, like, and like with my like coworkers or family, and even the people that I drive for my job, to a certain degree. But then, there are certain times when you have to have boundaries, and that's what we learn through recovery is how to form healthy boundaries. I didn't have that growing up, and I certainly didn't have that when I started drinking and going into adulthood. So I never learned that. So, but like in year, I don't know, like 3, I think it was where I was like, I'm going to focus on fixing these boundary issues that I have. I had a couple people, family members that I had to work on that with. It gave me good practice. As frustrating as it was to go through that, I did it and I came out the other side better. And therapy helped with that. Talking about it helped with that. Um, Praying helped with that. A lot of things helped with that. But I leaned on all those things, and that's what really got me to the other side of that. So, yeah, it is frustrating, but at the same time, it is what it is. It's okay. That's the price I pay to have this channel. Uh, I wasted thousands on blow. Yeah, I think I did a video where I wasted over 100K drinking over a lifetime. And it's just not, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. There's so much better stuff to do out there. So I think I've gotten to the end of these comments mostly. I pretty much ignored the trolls. But if you joined me on this and you were here for the whole thing, thank you guys so much for being here today. It's Saturday. I don't know what you got planned, but let us know in the comments on the live here or on my video coming out tomorrow, where you're at with your sobriety, how far along you are, what's the biggest benefit of being alcohol free for you. What's been so far the biggest benefit? I'd love to hear all the comments on that. Um, so for me, the biggest benefit is I can just be my authentic self, and I don't have to pretend. I don't have to pretend like I'm okay, because that's what we do when we're stuck in addiction, man. We're holding on by the seat of our pants. We're telling ourselves what we need to hear just to get through it, and it's typically it's not the truth. And that's what it is. And growing in my faith, speaking of truth, that's another, I mean, that is the biggest thing. But there's so many. So, but let me know what you guys are going through, and how sobriety and how being alcohol free has helped you. So have a great sober Saturday, everybody. Thanks for being here, and we'll catch you on the next one.